Hello, my name's Tony and welcome back to Fragdicted. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a review on Dolce & Gabbana's The One Grey. Stay right where you are. So firstly, I'd like to thank Steve at Frags to Riches for bringing this back to my attention. I've had this in my collection all summer and I haven't reached for it. I openly admit it isn't something when I first sprayed that actually got me very excited. I didn't give it much of a chance. I picked this up really cheap. I got a deal with 2 fragrances for about £40 on eBay with a discount code. So this worked out to be about £20 delivered for a 50 ml. So Steve did an unboxing on his channel very recently, and this is one of the fragrances he picked up. I commented that it wasn't something that got me very excited, and he responded and said to give it more of a chance and maybe wear it to work. So that's what I did, and that's why I'm back with a full review. I'll be linking Steve's channel below. So let's jump into the review. Let me show you the bottle and the presentation, and the notes will be on the screen. Screen. So this opens with a really heavy citrus blast of grapefruit, but the grapefruit isn't too sharp, and the reason for that is because it's got the cardamom in there too, which I think really helps smooth out that citrus. Now, admittedly, when I first sprayed this, I found it quite generic. I didn't find it particularly interesting. But I didn't really wear it on skin. I just sprayed it out of the atomizer. I think I may have sprayed it on a card, and I just wasn't blown away. And I think there is an element of the power of marketing in this, because as Steve mentioned, the word grey doesn't really invoke excitement in it. And I think if they'd called it something else, then I'd smelt it. I think my perception could have been changed immediately. So I think subconsciously, in the back of my mind, I automatically thought that this would be a boring fragrance. So I wore this to work and I gave it a good spray. And when I first sprayed it on, I got a hint of something very, very familiar. And at first I couldn't pick up where that familiarity came from. Then it hit me. This shares the DNA of something that I have in my collection that I am really fond of. And that is Sedley by Perfumes de Marly. So those that watch my channel know how much I love this. So you might think, well, why didn't you not pick that up initially? I got D&G The One Grey well before I picked this up, and to be fair, there are some differences. The similarities though, and why I would compare it to this, is it has a similar grapefruit note, and it also shares some other notes that are the same. So it shares geranium, the lavender, the vetiver and the patchouli, and I think they are some of the main notes in The One Grey. Sedley, in fairness, packs more of a punch and it lasts longer. It's a bit deeper than this one is. This one's a little bit more ozonic. Let's go back to the beginning. So I said that it started with a prominent grapefruit note, which it does, along with the cardamom smoothing it out. Then you get the hint of the vetiver, which takes it in a completely different direction to the original EDT or EDP of the one. So this is very different to those fragrances. This is a lot fresher. It's a lot easier to wear. If you like fresh, especially blue fragrances, I would say, I think that you would like this. It adds something a little bit different to some blue fragrances, and actually the performance isn't too bad, but I'll go back to that. This has some herbal notes in it from the clary sage, the coriander and the basil, but I don't find them too overpowering. Not one note jumps out and I think, oh, I'm not sure about that. It is quite well blended together. The one note that I don't get is the tobacco. I don't pick any of that up in this fragrance. I'm not even sure why it's listed, because I just can't see that it's in there. You get the freshness of the grapefruit that goes throughout the wearing pretty much. It never really fades away too much. It's always lurking there. It's obviously very prominent in the opening, and then it dies down a bit and then it stays, which is quite unusual for citrus notes in fragrances. When this dries down, I sprayed some on clothes too. I was wearing a suit on the day and I sprayed some on my suit jacket. Later on that day, I thought that it had pretty much disappeared. I could just get it faintly on my skin, so it was a faint skin scent by the end of the day, but I kept getting lovely wafts of something sweet and addictive. And then it hit me, it was the one. I've got a tiny bit of the EDT left and I've got some EDP, and it actually does dry down to become a little bit like what the original is, whereas in the opening I don't get that at all. So if you give it some time and give it a spray on clothes, that helps the performance, and eventually the familiar nuances that you get with the one do start to eventually come through. So I'm a little bit gutted really, because I should have been wearing this. I should have been wearing this throughout the summer. It lasts okay. I should have given it more of a chance. But hey, I've got it in my collection. I won't be flipping it. I don't really sell any of my fragrances. I like to build my collection, and this will stay there till next year. Start to probably wear this in the spring. There was one thing I forgot to mention. In Sedley, there's ambroxan, which helps with the performance. And I quite like ambroxan fragrances. If I had to guess blind what was in this, I would have said that there was ambroxan in there, and I find it very strange that that's not listed. It might be a hidden note, because I get like a syntheticness from it, and it feels like ambroxan to me. So I'm surprised that isn't in the fragrance. I thought it was there. I personally would have relabeled the whole packaging. I think this has been an absolute nightmare for Dolce & Gabbana. I can't see that they would have sold much of this compared to the original. I think Steve said that they should have named it something like Eau Fraiche. I would have labelled it the One Blue, or the One Summer, or the One Sun. There is an endless amount of names you could have renamed it, and put it in a brighter packaging, maybe with a bright blue bottle or a slightly green bottle because of the vetiver. I think this would have grabbed more people's attention. They could have named it the One Grey Fresh as Fuck. Let's give you a quick overview. Performance is reasonable, it's not groundbreaking, but I get a good hour or more of projection. It doesn't project massively, it sits fairly close, maybe an arm's length. In terms of wearing, I can still smell it quite freshly for about 4 hours. But again, spray on clothes and you'll get a lot longer from it. And I think it's one of those fragrances you could go quite nose blind to quite quickly. So if you ask someone else to see if they can still smell it on you, I'm sure it's still there. Again, I'm not going to change my overall mind in terms of it is still quite generic. It's quite synthetic. It's nothing really groundbreaking. It's been done before, but I find it really pleasant. It's got more there than I first thought or anticipated. I think because I've now picked it and associated it with one of my more favourite fragrances, Sedley,
which I would reach for more often if I'm being honest.
But this is about £20–25, and this is well into the hundreds, up to 200, so there is a difference. I hope you get to enjoy what's left of the good weather. Now into the more boring admin side. I have to do this, I'm very sorry, but have you subscribed to the channel? I hope you have. Please subscribe. Have you liked the video yet? Like. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Don't forget to keep smelling wonderful.